Welcome into Philadelphia Eagles Now by Chat Sports. Chase Sr. here with you. Hope everybody out there is having a great Sunday. And what a win for the Philadelphia Eagles. That is how a championship team responds. That is how a championship level team rises up and faces adversity. Eagles win this game over the Pittsburgh Steelers 27-13, and now Philadelphia has won a franchise record 10 consecutive ball games. And throughout this week, there was a lot of drama around this Eagles organization. There was a lot of pressure on Jalen Hurts in this pass game. They needed to show some signs of life. They had entered this game against Pittsburgh, the number one rushing offense in the NFL, averaging $190 per game, but their passing offense had ranked 32nd overall. And in order for this team to make a run at a Super Bowl, they couldn't just be a one-sided, one-level team as far as just being so run-heavy as they run at about 56-57% of the time. They needed to become a more balanced offense because when you do that, you become so much harder to defend because you are multiple and you can hit the opposition with a lot of different plays, a lot of different elements, and you have to keep them thinking. Whereas if you continue to struggle through the air and you can only run the football in an efficient, effective manner, at some point, teams were just going to load the box and go all out on trying to stop the run. Ladies and gentlemen, the Pittsburgh Steelers did that today, but the Eagles responded, and Jalen Hurts put together his best passing game of the year. And I can't help but think back to what he said a few days ago when him and A.J. Brown had to face the noise after the comments made by Brandon Graham, and they had to address the media. They both said that we're good, we're on the same page, we understand that we have to get better. But one thing stands out to me about what Hurts had to say. He said, I tend to thrive when adversity hits like this. Jalen Hurts did that. He was awesome in this football game. He finishes the day 25 of 32, 290 yards, 2 touchdowns through the air, one early to A.J. Brown, the other to Devontae Smith. He added a brotherly shove touchdown, so 3 combined touchdowns. And now during this 10-game winning streak, Jalen Hurts has accounted for 26 total touchdowns and 3 total giveaways. That is a winning formula. And so a credit to Hurts for understanding that he had to get better as a thrower, taking accountability, but the best way to respond to all of that is by proving it. You look at a player like Deebo Samuel. That's a guide for what to not do. He complained about getting touches after his Niners team had dropped 38 points. Then the Niners try to force feed him the football, and he doesn't do anything. And he dropped the potential touchdown. He talked, he didn't back it up. Jalen Hurts on the other end could have said, we've won 9 games in a row. We need to get better throwing it, but we're also a running football team. We're averaging $190. I'm not turning the football over. The issue with me early in the year was my turnovers. I've cleaned that up, and still it's not good enough? No. Hurts said, we need to be a better passing football team. He comes out today. He's slinging it. And not only is it the overall numbers where he also had a passer rating of 125.3, he was clutch. He was money on third downs. And we showed you the rushing numbers. When he needed to make plays with his feet, he did. He ran for 45 yards. And it's so funny because I cover the entire NFL, and I'll talk about Jalen Hurts, about how he is an elite quarterback in this league. How, yes, he needs to get better, but winning is a quarterback stat. He deserves credit for that. And I'll mention his total touchdowns, and people will knock him and saying, his total touchdowns are skewed because he runs all of these footballs in from the 1-yard line on the tush-push brotherly shove. Jalen Hurts should deserve credit and praise for converting that play because he's one of the only quarterbacks, maybe the only other one is Josh Allen, who is actually capable of executing the brotherly shove. Other teams don't run that play because they don't have quarterbacks who can squat 500, 600 pounds and push the pile like Hurts. It's a unique skill. And Bob Vitrone, Boop Stats, responded to me on X and said that play is earned with what Hurts does 365 days a year. And that's putting in the work to have a strong lower half. And it's exactly right. And it's very well said. And so the MVP of this football game is Hurts. It was great after A.J. Brown said, we need to improve passing, for him to come out. He catches 8 balls for $110 and a touchdown. Making plays happen, picking up yards after the catch. Devontae Smith, 11 catches for 109 yards. As a receiving core, 11.6 yards per completion for Philadelphia. Gainwell, Kenneth Gainwell is one of the MVPs of this game. With Saquon Barkley a little bit banged up, Kenneth Gainwell came to play. 3 carries for 40 yards, a couple of massive plays in critical spots, and 7 carries for 20 yards. As a team, Philadelphia only ran it 42 times for 131 yards, 3.1 yards per carry. On a bad day, they still run for $131. But going back to that point I said earlier, at some point, a team like Pittsburgh, they were going to go all out in trying to stop the run. And the Steelers did that, and they did it effectively. And at some point, the Eagles have to prove, Jalen Hurts has to prove, that he can win a game on his arm. Well, the Eagles did that against one of the top defenses in the National Football League that has been elite against the pass, one of the top defenses against the run. And coming into this game, they were tied for first in turnover plus minus. And Philadelphia, franchise record 10 wins in a row, as I said, they have swept the AFC North. And with the Detroit Lions going down against the Buffalo Bills, guess who's tied for the number 1 seed in the NFC? Philadelphia. And if home field advantage has to go through Philadelphia, and Jared Goff has to go on the road, play outdoors in the cold, his career splits point to him really struggling in those games, in that type of atmosphere. I also must give credit to Nick Sirianni. Everybody wants to criticize Nick Sirianni for not being a play caller. What does he do? That is the common question. Well, Mike Tomlin doesn't call plays. Bill Belichick didn't. John Harbaugh, Jim Harbaugh, they don't call plays. Dan Campbell doesn't call plays. Are you going to keep that same energy with them? The job of a head coach, and former players talked about this week in the media, is to manage a crisis, is to handle adversity, is to massage things. And when something like what happened this past week to Philadelphia happens and transpires, it can either unravel and get out of control like it did last year for Philadelphia when the coaching staff and the roster butted heads. Britt and Covey talked about that here on the show to us, and we broke that story from Super Bowl Radio Row last year. Or you could bring the team together. Nick Sirianni had a team meeting about this, addressed it to the team. He showed the team clips of them celebrating this year and brought up some of the 2022 vibes. And so for Nick Sirianni to manage the situation, to keep the locker room together, to keep this team focused toward Pittsburgh, toward winning this football game, toward the bigger picture of trying to win a Super Bowl, Nick Sirianni did that. He's now 46-19, continues to have the best winning percentage of any current active head coach in the National Football League. A lot more to get to here with our postgame show. But first, today's Philadelphia Eagles now sponsored by our friends at Game Time. Holidays are coming up. If you want to get something awesome for somebody who you really care about, how about tickets to an Eagles game? On the road against the Commanders, they can clinch the division next week with the victory. It's always fun to be a part of the Eagles takeover on the road, or home games remaining against Dallas and against New York. Special season brewing for Philadelphia. If you want to be a part of it, get some tickets. Serves as a great gift during the holiday season. It's also not just an app for sporting events. You can go to concerts, comedy shows, theater events, and a whole lot more. You can see the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. Game Time has flash deals and zone deals. They have ticket insurance. Also, lowest price guaranteed. If you find a lower price elsewhere, Great. Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS, for $20 off. Terms apply. First purchase only. What time is it? Game time. Let's talk about this game furthermore. So in the last 9 games, Philadelphia had 3 turnovers. They had 2 today in a minute. Jalen Hurts fumble, and Cooper DeJean fumbled a punt. Last year, the game would have gotten out of control. Last year, the Eagles would have panicked. The Eagles would have probably pissed down their leg. This year, that has not happened. They continue to get better as games go on. They do a good job of managing the game in-game, but dealing with some moments where sometimes you're battling things that happen throughout the course of a ball game. And the Eagles only gave up 3 points off those giveaways. That's huge. The Eagles also scored 10 first-quarter points in this game. They started the game on fire. Hurts, before his first incompletion, 9 of 9 for 121 yards. What has been an issue for this Eagles offense this year? Starting games slow. But they're able to net a field goal in the first drive, 10 first-quarter points. They start this game fast against one of the top defenses in the NFL. The Pittsburgh Steelers did not pick up a first down until around 9 minutes to go in the first half. This Eagles defense came out guns a-blazing. They were firing on all cylinders. So good at all 3 levels. Vic Fangio bringing the heat. And the normal, really good players performing well once again. And I'm thinking about it now. I don't think Quinyon Mitchell gave up a catch today. Jalen Carter was once again fantastic. Zach Bond making plays all over the yard. This Eagles team, so sound and well coached on the defensive side of the football, and the physicality, the confidence, the swagger, the speed in which they play with, that was on display. They gave up 1 scoring drive to Pittsburgh in this game. And on that lone scoring drive for a touchdown that the Steelers had, Reed Blankenship was flagged for a hit on Justin Fields when Justin Fields' slide was way too late, and that helped to give the Steelers the football in advantageous field position. Outside of that, Eagles defense was awesome in this game. And it was also great to see Philadelphia capitalize off that Najee Harris fumble. You got to be able to take advantage of some of those giveaways. And the Eagles went on a long matriculating drive after that Najee Harris fumble, which helped to decide this football game and put it away. That was a, let's see, long drive that ate up a lot of clock. After that Najee Harris fumble. 13 plays, 74 yards after that. And then the other impressive thing is that the Eagles, we've talked about this all year, and I've pointed this out for a long time. National broadcasts are starting to point it out as well. And then people who don't really watch this team. The Eagles get stronger as the game goes on. It's a credit to how they're built. It's a credit to their conditioning staff. It's a credit to their style of football. But they get better as the games go. They get stronger as games progress. They wear teams down, and they're kind of like a boa constrictor in a way. They just strangle you to the point where over a duration of time, you just have to tap out like a good MMA fighter who's really good at scrapping. And you just can't breathe any longer, and it's a slow, painful death for you. The Eagles took over with more than 10 minutes to go in this football game. The Steelers did not see the football again. Eagles able to dominate and throttle the Steelers in time of possession throughout this game, but in that second half, the Steelers barely had the football at all. I mean, it was incredible. The Steelers had a 4-play, 38-yard drive where they fumbled. Their only other drive was 7 plays, 24 yards. And so on the 7-play, 24-yard drive, they had the ball for 348, and on the 4 plays, 38 yards, and the fumble, 202. The Steelers had the ball for less than 6 minutes in the entire second half. And just look at the team-by-team comparison here. Philadelphia, 401 total yards. Pittsburgh, 163. First downs. The Eagles had 26 first downs. The Steelers had 10. Third downs. Eagles, 10 of 17. Credit to Jalen Hurts. Pittsburgh, 3 of 10. Penalties, 7 for 54, 5 for 60. Got to get it cleaned up there. Time of possession. Eagles won by 19 minutes. And now, Detroit 12-2. Philadelphia 12-2. Eagles tied with the Lions for the number 1 seed in the NFC. And I believe that Philadelphia might have the better NFC record. They both lost to the Bucs, so that's huge. Or a better record against common opponents. Let me just double check on that before we hop on out of here for our post-game show. Because the Lions officially go down. Shout out to Bills Mafia. And at the very least, they are tied for first place in the NFC. NFL.com has not updated their playoff picture, but both Detroit and Philadelphia are now 12-2. And the Eagles have the Commanders, Cowboys, Giants to go. The Lions' remaining schedule. On the road against the Bears. Goff is not good outdoors or in the cold. On the road against the Niners. And then at home against Minnesota. So the Eagles could lock up the number 1 seed in the NFC here with 3 weeks to go. That's huge. Because let me also pass this along before we dip out. And I've also been pointing this out for weeks. Jared Goff's indoor-outdoor splits this year. Outdoors, completing 63.5% of his passes, 7.4 yards per completion, 3 touchdowns, 5 picks. Passer rating of 65.5. Indoors, completion rate up by 10, 73.9. Yards per completion up by 1.4 yards, 22 touchdowns, 5 picks, and a passer rating of 116. Last year, very similar indoor-outdoor splits for Jared Goff. Outdoors last year, completed 64.5%, yards per completion, 7 touchdowns, 4 picks, sacked 15 times on 228 dropbacks, passer rating of 87.9. Indoors, completion percentage goes up to 69. Yards per completion, 7.9. 23 touchdowns, 8 picks, passer rating up to 104. 15 sacks on 377 attempts is what I should have said. So 228 attempts, 15 sacks. 377 attempts indoors, 15 sacks. It's pretty telling. And that passer rating jumps up by about 20 points. Great victory for the Birds. 10 in a row. What will the Eagles' final record be? Will they lose another game this year? I hope not. Let's keep the train rolling. Go Birds. Thanks for watching.